Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of iWorkinSport live interview. This is the last episode of the year, the season finale, as they say in Netflix and other shows. So if this is your first time here, the live interview, that's the show where we talk to accomplished sport business professionals who come here to share their knowledge, experience, tips, and advice in order to help you succeed in your career. I'm João Fugerio. I'm the founder of iWorkinSport. So if this is your first time here, nice to meet you. Let me know that this is your first time. Leave a message, or either if you're watching it live or later. If you're coming back, it's nice to see you again. You know the drill. Let us know where you're watching from. This is super cool. We have a very international audience. Again, if it's the first time that you're coming here, you don't know iWorkinSport, we connect talents and recruiters in the industry, especially, but not only through a series of events, whether in person or digital, while we also promote career growth and education. Always in sport. For more information, let me show you here. You can check iWorkinSport.com, or you find us here in our social media channels. We're at iWorkinSport pretty much everywhere, except on LinkedIn, where you need to get the right company before that. Again, a reminder, if you like that type of content, leave the like and subscribe to the channel. Help us out. That would be super cool. And again, thank you for being with us today. As you know, this is an interactive session. Normally, the best questions come from you, not from me. So prepare them. We have a very special guest today. And if you're looking for a new challenge in sport, he's the person you really want to listen to. So let me introduce him. I'm talking about Raphael Fiche, or Raphael Fiche. He's Brazilian like me, so he's also known as Rapha. He's a senior recruiter at Adidas at the headquarters in Germany. I will not try to say the name of the city or the headquarters. Maybe he's already trained and will be able to tell us. He's what you can call a globetrotter, right? He's lived all over the place, several countries. He's going to share that with us, his experiences. He's been working at Adidas for 5 years. Before that, he worked for a company that handled recruitment and HR for Adidas at some mega events, such as the FIFA World Cup and the Confederations Cup. He'll tell us all about that. He's a regular guest lecturer at several universities, where he teaches about personal branding and storytelling. So that's two very important elements to anyone building a career in any industry. So we'll delve into that. Let me actually get Rapha here. I'm going to welcome him now. There you go. Hello, Rapha. Hello. Welcome to the show. How are you?
What a pleasure, huh? To be in the season finale. There you go.
Yeah, they say the best for last. So we have a big responsibility today.
I'm happy to be here. Let's see what the challenge comes today.
Great. We have people watching us on YouTube, but also on LinkedIn. So people already our friends are letting us know where they're watching from. So just to give you an idea, we have Anush from India.
Hello.
Mazi is in Paris. Coach Abdul is Mazi Henry is always with us, Coach Abdul as well, in South Africa, Yuri in Brazil, also regular here. Thanks for being with us again. Valentina in Milano. So people from different regions, let us know where here. Jesus Lorenzo in France, Aldo in Peru. Hello, Aldo. There's a LinkedIn user that's probably not connected right, but from Berlin. Also, someone from French Guiana. That's great. Our friend Tabo. Hello, Tabo, in Gabon, right? Mohammed in Tehran. So, Rapha, you're speaking to a very international audience.
Awesome.
Now the crowd from LinkedIn started to say hi as well. Hi, Bikar in the US. Sam is in Leeds. And yeah, they'll let us know as they connect. Now, Rapha, not before we start, so we're going to start with that. I'd like to ask you, before we talk more about career, we're going to give a lot of advice to people watching us today. But tell us about your career, right? You're a recruiter at Adidas today. Before that, you were, being recruited at some points in your career. So tell us about that, maybe from university until now.
Yeah, I could probably start with university if that's okay. So I'm from Brazil, right? But I grew up in the States. So when I was 12 years old, I actually moved to the States. So I was very young, introduced to an international life, which led me to kind of choose, this type of path in my life since a very young age, and thus the reason for deciding to come to Germany actually for my university. So I had the chance to come abroad as well, and came to Germany, studied in a very, very little town in the middle of the state of Bavaria, in the middle of the forest, out of nowhere. Although the course was 100% in English. So that made it a bit easier for me, to be honest, because I already spoke English. German was not part of my language skills at that time. And these studies were really, essential to build my career, I would say, João. Not only the academical part, but also I think more importantly was that the university required us to do mandatory internships. And this is where I started everything, right? So my mandatory internship firstly was in a bank called UniCredit, which I guess a lot of people know because they also sponsor a lot of sports. It was an amazing company. I was surrounded by really incredible professionals there. I'm still in very close touch with these guys until today. I was doing what we call executive leadership development. So I was in HR back then, and I was supporting basically the creation of development centers for potential executive leaders of the company. That was gigantic learning for me. The internship was divided in 2 countries, so I was half of it in Italy, half of it I was in Germany, in Munich. And although it was an incredible experience, I thought that I needed to experience other industries first before deciding what I really wanted to do for my life. And that's already, that would be already my first tip for people who are studying to really experience different things and different industries and different positions before they decide what they're gonna spend 8 hours of their day doing for the rest of their lives, right?
Right.
That's definitely something to keep in mind. And that is when I decided that it was maybe an opportunity to take a break from university. So I took another break from university, which I ended up graduating later than all my friends and colleagues from university, but was essential for me to decide what I wanted to do. And that's when I came to Adidas. So I did an internship here in marketing at the time. So I was doing an internship in store communications and really handling basically everything that was with communications throughout retail across the globe, and bringing that to life. As I was still finishing my degree at that time, I couldn't get a position, so I needed to finish university. But I always loved working more than studying, to be honest. And I thought, I need to find a way where I can continue working and not lose that connection to, first of all, Adidas or to the network that I've created inside the company. And that's when I started networking around, which would be my second hint, right? I think networking is incredibly important. And I found an opportunity with an event agency called Act3. At that time, they were an exclusive partner of Adidas, so they basically only worked with Adidas at that time. And I met some incredible people who allowed me to do some freelance work with them during the time that I was still finalizing my degree. And yeah, I mean, I worked hard during my freelance times, and I showed them my capacity, and I showed them what I could do, which then, as soon as I graduated, they sent me back to Brazil. The moment I graduated, it was literally like maybe 15 days after I handed over my thesis. They said, okay, now we're sending you to Brazil, where they didn't even know what the task was for me yet, right? So and I was fine with that, because I knew that I was going to be working in one of my dream events, which was the Confederations Cup and the World Cup. So they sent me over. Initially, was helping them to establish the data company in Brazil, and helping them to translate documents, contact with lawyers and financial advisors, and so on and so forth. Which then they saw a strength in me, which was my networking skills, and they said, hey, why don't you help us really set up our business from a people perspective. So I was responsible then for hiring and training everyone across our own organization. So like the people that were working on a day-to-day basis, plus all the freelancers that were working in the host cities. So I was heading the recruitment. So for the World Cup, I was heading the recruitment and training department, and hired over 300 people over all the cities, which was a huge challenge. Brazil was the only tournament where we had 12 cities against other tournaments that had 10. If you look at geographically speaking, Brazil is huge. So a lot of recruitment strategies to try to find those people, to recruit them in a efficient way, but fast as well. Plus around 60 people that worked in the office on a daily basis that were working with us every day. So I was responsible for them as well. I think the beauty of working in a small agency, small company, is that you kind of do a bit of everything. It was not only recruitment, it was a bit of, as I said, it was also training, but also I was taking care of payroll. I was taking care of other HR matters and contractual things, and also had my own events to take care of. So in the end, it was a mixture between event management and recruiting, training, and a little bit of all of that. And it was a gratifying experience. I think I did a good job, because or else they wouldn't have sent me back to Germany. So they continued with me, and they said, we want you in our German office. So I came to the headquarters here, where they sent me to Berlin. And in Berlin, I was actually managing the Adidas football base. The Adidas football base, for those who don't know, is basically a base that Adidas created to offer football for people in that city. So in Berlin, for kids to experience football, to immerse into our brand. So a brand immersion kind of experience, and also to understand what our brand is doing, and also to help the community into bringing football to a different stage. So I did that for about 1 year, and actually I decided that I wanted to join the other side. So I started applying to jobs at Adidas, and instead of working at an agency, I wanted to work at the client. And was when I saw a job for being a recruiter, and I think I was set up already with a network that I've created within Act3 to already understand the business and to understand a bit of what happens around Adidas. And yeah, I was hired to join the recruitment team at the end of 2015. So I just actually did 5 years this month. So that's my anniversary actually in December. And within these 5 years, I also had an opportunity to do an assignment outside of recruitment. So I actually rejoined that team that I did an internship years ago. I joined them working 2 years in in-store communications again. And yeah, basically there I was responsible for taking care of women's stores. So I was creating concepts for our women retail stores and also wholesale shopping shop concepts. So that helped me a lot understand, even better the world of marketing and the world of brands, and to be a better recruiter who really understands the day-to-day of the job, and also to assess really candidates and the case studies. And that's already an amazing point of the company, is that we promote our internal talent a lot, and we allow our talents to move around and experience different things, and that is just phenomenal in my opinion to have in such a company, to develop yourself in different areas. So yeah, that's a bit of the background.
No, great. And a couple of takeaways from that is, one, that career, especially in sports, I think nowadays any career, they're rarely linear nowadays. Yeah. It's, the time where you would start at a company and do a long career from the beginning there, I think, and especially in the same sort of area, it's no more. I mean, it might exist, but it's not the rule anymore. Good tip that you gave. I had Daniel G here, and other guests as well said the same thing, that sometimes it's more useful, even if you start perhaps outside sport and get some acquire some knowledge, some experience elsewhere, and then bring that back to the business. And networking, I mean, the importance of the network, I think this is something that we can talk about. Just before I go to the next question, I'm going to just acknowledge a few other people that are here watching us from all over the world. Tilo is in Brooklyn. Hello, Tilo. José Luis. Oh, sorry. This is Robert. Hi, Robert, at FIFA headquarters in Zurich. I was going to say José Luis is in Santos, my hometown. We have a very special guest here. Hello, İpek, watching from Turkey. İpek participated working at Adidas at the iWorkinSport virtual job fair. It was great. Actually, there's some people from LinkedIn that is not I can't really see where they're from. It's Martin Slemenson is talking from Spain. Ignatius from Munich. This is so inspiring. I think so too. Thank you, Ignatius. Fares in Tunisia. Hassan, another globetrotter, now today watching from Morocco. My friend Tabo likes the branded t-shirt. Thank you, Tabo. I work in sports. Let's help promote that. And if you like it, Tabo, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a link there so you can get one as well. Erica watching from the next room. Hello. Irish names are hard to say, so I'm gonna try Sidant in Ireland. Maybe that's not even an Irish name. Matteo in Spain, and Audrey Matadi in Belgium. Now, before I actually go to the next question, once we had the Adidas recruitment team visiting the FIFA Master, where I studied and I consult for them as well. And they did a super cool exercise, which was, everybody has an Adidas memory from a very young age, whether, that's football from the World Cup or an advertising or the first boot or something. So it would be very cool if you guys watching there, boys and girls, let Rapha know what is your first Adidas memory. And if you're watching, delayed, just write that in a comment. That would be super cool. And also, don't forget to prepare your questions about career. Rapha, very quickly, give us a sense of what is your job like as a recruiter for Adidas. First thing it comes to my mind is that you must be swamped with applications every day. But apart from that, what else can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a point to raise, right? The amount of applications. I think especially marketing is a very attractive area, so we received quite a lot of applications. I think in total, if I'm not mistaken, and don't quote me here, I think in total we receive around 700,000 applications a year, globally speaking, right? So we're talking about a lot of candidates that we need to go through. As I mentioned, I'm a senior recruiter for what we call brand or marketing. I lead mainly our sports business units, so running, football, training, and specialist sports. I support as well the lifestyle business, so the originals, fashion and lifestyle, as well as horizontal teams that work across them. The roles that I involved under my responsibility are mainly around product marketing, communication, so including brand comms, retail, digital, social, and PR, merchandising, go-to-markets, and of course, sports marketing roles. The goal of the job, João, is really to service the business. So we are a service function, and we service the business in providing the best talent for their open roles. And to do that, of course, we take loads of steps. And first, we need to analyze the team's structure and understand the members of the team. And after like a deep discussion with the hiring team and the HR managers of that area, we partner in searching for the best necessary skill sets that is missing, and also best personality needed for the team in order to continue bringing the organization forward towards its goals, right? We always need to understand the goals from the hiring team, and we always need to understand what the hiring team is looking for. And this is done, of course, looking at our leadership framework in mind, and our mission, of course, but also the financial goals, as I mentioned. Additionally, I have to make sure that the hiring managers have to see only the best candidates. So, out of hundreds of applications that I receive, I'm the one filtering them and making sure that after I talk to a few candidates, that I issue a very balanced short list of diverse candidates to ensure that the hiring is really fair and it's equitable and it's competitive for the candidates. For that, we go through applications that we receive, but also we go through talent pools that we own. When we did iWorkinSport with you, we've created quite some talent pools as well. So we access these talent pools to see what talents are out there, and also headhunting, right? So sometimes we see that from applications or from our own talent pool, we don't have the talent that is needed for that specific role. So we have to do some headhunting practice. And this is where, LinkedIn, of course, is one of the most common ones, but we are definitely looking at different platforms to see, where do we find the candidates that fit that skill set and personality and leadership framework that we're looking for those roles. So that's
Great.
a bit kind of a more or less explanation of the role.
Great, Rapha. So another advice there: keep your LinkedIn updated. You might get a call from headhunters from Adidas. Rapha, you teach about personal branding. So how important is that?
It's a big passion. So if you ask me importance, that would definitely go all the way up, right? So I think as much as marketeers.
So the question is why? isn't it enough me doing a good job to progress in my career? So tell me, why is it important to create that personal branding?
Well, I think as much as I was just starting, like I think as much as marketeers like to talk about brands, so do recruiters, and so do your possible client, future clients, your colleagues, etc. Everyone is talking about brand, be it your personal one or your company one, and essentially means storytelling. So how do you put your story out there? I think especially being in the informational age where we are, where everything is accessible through the tip of our fingers, those who can really understand how to use the power of our networks will essentially, in my opinion at least, achieve a greater level of success. And those who know how to use the social channels to really kind of deliver a picture of themselves, they will be seen. And we have to understand that competition is every day more and more fierce, right? It's getting tougher and tougher. So it is important to stand out. I always like to make a very simple and kind of stupid analogy, right? So like if I'm the best party host ever, right, João? And I'm the best at, I know that all my decorations are the best. I know that, I make the best cakes, I make the best sweets, I make the best drinks, I make the best food. But if no one knows that I am the best party host ever, how else are people going to find out, right?
Nobody goes to your party.
If I host a party and I don't invite you to the table, how else are people going to find out that I am the best party host, right? So your personal brand is a chance for people to get to know you and to associate yourself to certain qualities and that you would like to show. It is really your reputation and what people think of you and what people get in working with you. So, for example, if I search for your name in Google, what will I find? If I type João Frigeiro here, what will I find? If I talk to your reference,
good question.
You seem a bit scared. But if I do references, what are they going to
can ask maybe to people to look this up and let us know in the comments. If it's bad, I won't read it.
Yeah, and it's not only about CV and cover letter anymore. Companies are looking for people to take the next step, and you have to shine. And as I said, companies that are big and attractive are receiving thousands and thousands of applications. So how do you stand out? How do you put yourself out there? How do you show people what you know? What do you want people to associate your name with? So I think it's very important, in my opinion, to start building that from the beginning of your career, already from university, to be honest.
And also in the age of social media, everybody has Instagram and Facebook. Whether you want it or not, you create an image for yourself. There is a personal branding whether you want it or not. And I don't know if that's the case of Adidas or not, but there are many companies that actually also, go through, candidates' Instagram or Facebook, even if they're not only LinkedIn, which is professional, to also see what their image is like. So I don't know if sort of Adidas does that or not. But
not necessarily. I mean, that's not part of the recruitment process. Of course not. But there would be.
But it is in some companies. So I think it's important that people are aware of that and are careful. Now, so okay, we talked about the importance. So what is give us some advice for people that are now just getting concerned about it. So if I want to, take care of my personal branding, what should I do?
It's a good question. I think the very first step is understanding who you are, right? And getting to know yourself. And you're building your own brand, and you need to understand who you are. And I think a good start, to be honest, is to start doing self-assessments, to do personality tests, although they don't give you a complete picture of who you are. They give you ideas of who you are, and they give you sort of directions that you could relate to yourself, or directions that you could even think of going through. What I also really like to do is take assessments from, like when I look at university, like the tough professors, not only the nice ones, tough colleagues that I've had, but also your personal life, right? Your friends and your family, and not the ones that will only say the nicest things about you, but also the ones that would criticize you or warn other people about certain qualities that you have. This will, in my opinion, help you to kind of do that kickstart, right? And understanding of who you are. So that would be my very first advice.
In terms of personality, just before you go to the next one, in terms of personality tests, do you have a favorite one?
There is the 16 personalities, which is pretty interesting. So that's one that shines, and there are loads of free personality tests out there that you can do with the 16 personalities. Then
I did that one last week, actually.
The 16 one?
Yeah.
You know your result?
I can't remember. I'm doing a coaching session with Norun Thomasen, a lady that used to work for FIFA for a long time, and had a great session with her. And yeah, so I did that as part of it. I can't remember exactly what's mine was.
I mean, they won't tell you every single thing about you. And as I said, it's not completely objective, right? And I think you have to understand what you want to take out of that and understand what really relates to you. But it helps you to start.
Yeah. I did the Red Bull one as well. Do you know that, the Wing Finder?
No, I haven't seen that
one, and the MBTI, which is probably the most famous one.
Yeah,
that was many years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
You're gonna say about maybe a second step?
Yeah. So yeah, getting to know yourself would be kind of the most important to start off. Then I think, my opinion, is very important to understand the values you stand for, and because you don't want to work for people or companies that you apply for that don't share the values that you have, right? And I think that's also important for people trying to bring their career to the next step, or starting their careers. Is like, what do you want to achieve? What is your final goal? Like, what is the mission that you want to have? What are the values that you want to reflect? Do these companies reflect the values that I want? Because not every company is going to be for you, right? And you're not going to be for every company as well. So I think it's like brands create their mission statement. I think it's also interesting for us to create our own mission statement, our visions. Where do we want to go? What do we want to achieve? And what are we doing to get there? Because I think that also shows that you're working towards those goals. If you've broken down your personal project, right, into kind of small milestones to reach what you want within that time frame that you give yourself, then that's the second step. And then for me, the third step would be, how do you translate all of that to make yourself visible for other people to see that, right? So how do you become a positive voice in the marketplace for topics that you're passionate about, topics that you understand? How are you going to use the power of the qualities that now you know who you are to influence maybe a future client or a future boss or a future colleague, a customer, an investor, or even a recruiter, of course, right? So we're talking about recruiting here. And I think, like, personal branding is really, as much as it is determining what's internally important for you, but also what you want to promote yourself externally, making the right people so us recruiters find the right people for the right type of work, right? So there's a lot of storytelling that goes into that.
Sure.
And yeah, so I think that would be kind of the hints I would give. Of course, we could talk about personal branding here for days, because we could do 3 to 4 days workshop on personal branding only. But these would be, I would say, my top 3 hints to build that.
Well, maybe let's arrange that for the future. We'll talk about it later. Before I get to the next one, there's some questions already arriving here. I'm going to address them sort of in a few minutes. We tend to leave the best for last. As I said, just a few comments here. Tabo says that Adidas a fashion statement from university days. If you're a sports person and didn't own an Adidas item, you're considered to be a fake sports person. Valentina Carlos says the best football commercials ever. That's her memory since a young age. Would be ecstatic by them, the music, dancing. There's someone else who's that? Anush. His favorite one was the 2006 World Cup commercial. And one mentions, Sam mentions Steven Gerrard wearing his Adidas Predator boots best on the market. Rapha, before I get to the audience questions, I have a few more for you, and I'm very concerned about, one thing I try to do with iWorkinSport is to help people in their, when they're seeking for opportunities and to improve in their careers. And obviously, the pandemic affected very hardly, very hard all the job seekers. So what should they do when there's a shortage of opportunities? How can they behave? Should they just, what is your advice for someone that simply can't find the opportunities that interest them?
It's a very good question. I could take it in many different ways, but one thing that I would probably say is take advantage of the time you possibly have at this period, right? It is a very, very competitive environment, and we talked a little bit about it already. With personal branding and so on, the competition is getting harder and harder and harder. And I think, especially when you see shortage of opportunities, that means that there's also a greater amount of great quality of candidates that are out there. So I think you really need to take the time to understand very well the companies you are applying for. What are the expectations of these companies? What is your added value when you're applying for these companies? And again, looking at the personal brand part is like, how do you build your brand and how do you sell yourself? So I think that is definitely something that I would be looking into right now. And I think most candidates honestly are already getting lost in just applying and what looks good and sounds good, but not in what really matches their skill sets. So I see that a lot. I see, sometimes people applying to positions that don't match their CV at all, don't match their skill set, which makes it hard for a recruiter to try to help, even though we have the mindset of keeping diversity in mind, right? Like from a cognitive perspective as well. Like it's hard when nothing matches, right? And just because it looks good, I'm gonna hit the application button. So that's one hint. And then I would say, taking the time to network with people you do not know, joining network events, understand what is happening in the industry, understanding what is happening in different industry, and taking the time to develop yourself. I think more than ever, everything's changing. I think because of COVID-19, a lot of things changed. All companies were forced to bring digital in an accelerating factor. So that's definitely something that not only us, Adidas, but I think every company is looking into, from the way that companies do business to the ways consumers are shopping. I think we are seeing consumer behaviors change. And I'm not saying that we have the answers, right? And that's the thing. We're looking for people that help us with these answers. And these are the candidates that are going to shine. So what are the behaviors that are changing with these times? Are you looking into that? What kind of research are you doing into that area? Digital being the accelerator of businesses right now. How are you developing yourself in that area? What kind of courses have you taken during this time? How are you doing research to understand problems that companies are facing or could be facing? How do you have like a futuristic look and see what problems that industry could face and how your skill set coming into that business could help? So these would be kind of interesting points where I would bring if I would be in a shortage of opportunities right now, is something that I would be investing my time with.
Oh, definitely. That's great advice. Yeah, 100% second that. And there's a question coming from Maximilian here, which is pretty much the same one that I had as well. I was going to ask how a candidate can stand out when they apply, especially via online. The way he asks it is, how does an applicant could make it to the shortlist? Any advice? So I think it's pretty much the same question.
Well, I mentioned a few things already, right? And I think
first, just one question. I think about Adidas or the process in Germany, because some of the sports organizations here, a lot of the recruitment process, at least the start of the process, is very automated now, or automated. Yes. So there is AI, machine learning, and a lot of the selection are not made by humans nowadays. So there may be some tricks with keywords and that kind of thing. But how is it at Adidas? Is it very technological at the moment? Still more traditional?
We have options, right? So we have both options to, depending on the job, to already set some criteria that candidates need to answer some questions beforehand, and based on these criteria, the system qualifies or disqualifies them. But most of the time, to be honest, we're looking literally CV by CV, and this is where I always tell people, like, try to understand how busy a recruiter is, right? And the amount of messages that sometimes reach LinkedIn asking for a chat without anything behind it, right? And I think that's something to keep in mind as well. It's like, keep in mind that the time that you're taking from that recruiter who probably receives hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications and needs to go through every single one of them. But it goes back to that question, right? How to make it into the shortlist, and it goes back to a comment that I've made already, which I think most people get lost already in applying on what just looks good. And I think the first step is understanding, first of all, does the company work for me? Do I work for the company? First you need to have that match. And I think secondly is the CV really matching my skill sets? And as I said, I think personal branding plays a big role. It goes from the presentation of your CV to the cover letter, and it goes over that. And I think what happens a lot is sometimes I get the same candidate applying for 3 completely different jobs within marketing, but with the same exact CV and the same exact cover letter. So they didn't take the time to really look at the job and adapt their CV to fit the criteria that is most important for me to see in that CV directly, or they didn't adapt their cover letter for me to read something that makes sense for that job, right? And that for me, it doesn't really show the will, first of all, right, and the skill sets that we're looking for in such an organization. So it is important that your CV is not always the same for every organization that you apply to and for every role that you apply in. And I see that very, very often. So I think it's very important to adapt for that role and put a bigger focus on the experiences that would be valuable for the specific requirements for that position. And, I think having a vision, as I said, in the personal branding part, right? There are sometimes candidates that apply for supply chain, to HR, to marketing, to finance, to sports marketing, because they're passionate about the company. But how is that showing any vision to a recruiter, right? It's like, where do you want to reach? Like, what is your end goal? Where is the target? Where are you aiming to? Like, and then
Do you have a lot of that candidates that apply, giving you many reasons why they would like to work for Adidas, but not maybe giving the reasons why Adidas would like to have them? Because I see a lot of that. People would say, I love Adidas since, those commercials, since when I was a kid, I wore those boots, and I'm passionate about football, or I'm passionate about other things, but doesn't really give the clear reason why the company should hire them.
Yeah, it happens very, very often, that the mutual benefit is not there in the application, right? There's only one-sided. It's like, what's in it for me, but like us as a company, we're trying to see what's in it for you, yes, but also what's in it for us. What problems are you going to solve? What are you going to bring to my organization that is going to help us reach our financial goals? So the understanding of that is very important. And I think more than ever, we're seeing candidates be very creative in their applications, not only through the CV and cover letter and the way they present themselves, but also creating online portfolios of their work, or even in social media, and inviting us recruiters to access their social medias to really see what they're doing. And sometimes I've received applications completely on Instagram. Like, a person created an Instagram specifically about the job position that they were applying to. I mean, of course, it fits to marketing roles. It probably wouldn't fit to more of the finance roles or HR roles. I'm talking specifically about the area that I recruit for, right? But what I would say, another point that I miss a lot on CVs is achievements, and what happens to that organization or the team or the business that you worked with because of your skill set and the work that you have done. What impact did it have in the organization? What impact did your job, did your project, did your role bring the organization forward? And I think people miss putting that a lot on CVs, to be honest. So that's something I also see often as could be a standout,
Right. Now that's great. Great advice again. And let's continue with that, because now I want to share good advice for people that are interested specifically in Adidas. So I saw a presentation by the talent acquisition team and the recruitment team with you, and also with former colleagues of yours before that as well. And they mentioned the 3 C's, right? C. So what is that? Tell us. This is very important for anyone that is thinking of applying for a job at Adidas to understand that.
Yeah, the famous 3 C's. And I think it's not only people applying at Adidas that should be interested in what the 3 C's mean, but in every organization, right? The 3 C's is our leadership framework. And I think if you're applying for any organization, you need to understand their leadership framework, not the 3 C's, sorry, their leadership framework. For us, our leadership framework is what we call the 3 C's. So our culture is based on our belief that, through sport, we have the power to change lives. And this goes through everything that we do, right? From product creations to marketing creations to people that we hire, right? And also in the assessments that we do. So we have great talents in our organization who work with passion for sports and our brands, and we believe in them to bring our strategy to life and our long-term goals to life. And for us, what makes a winning team are these leadership principles, and the so-called 3 C's, which stand for confidence, collaboration, and creativity. And that is a base not only for our recruitment, as I said, but also for performance, right? So we rate performance of our employees in these kind of evaluations. So to give examples relating maybe a bit to sport as well, right? So the confidence is taking quick decisions on the fields, for example, to reach higher, to acknowledge that we don't have all answers, to take risks, to try new things, to fail, to get up stronger. On that collaboration side is we know we are stronger together. We know that when we win as one team, we know that we need to have an open dialogue. We know that we need to be inclusive to people's ideas. We need to be inclusive to people's cultures. We need to trust each other. We need to trust the abilities and talents of other people. And on the creativity, because to be the best sports brand in the world requires creativity. We have to be open to new strategies. We have to be open to new concepts, to explore, and to really stand out. So everything that we do in our company requires the 3 C's, and that is our leadership framework. Other companies would have different leadership frameworks, but this is something I recommend every candidate to look into the leadership framework before applying to the companies in order to understand that. And for us, there's also a blog called Game Plan A, which is open to everyone and gives a lot of experiences about what the 3 C's are and how the 3 C's are lived. How it is to work here, and also a lot of role models around leadership and so on, which I always welcome a lot of people to come and see and take a look before applying to roles.
Right. Rafa, I do have a few more questions, but there's some questions arriving here, and I'm going to address some of you to them. So Maximilian Grunewald on LinkedIn ask, how does one tell the personal story in a motivational letter on just 2 paragraphs? If the story is hugely and actually requires a face-to-face conversation, how does one can catch, let's say, your attention in those sort of 2 paragraphs?
Yeah.
And by the way, let me also add my own question there. How important is it for the recruiter, the cover letter? I mean, we talk about the CV, there's a cover letter there as well. How, if you can give some advice about that.
The CV is an invitation to look into the cover letter, I would say. So I think it's equally important. The CV is that first invitation. The cover letter provides a bit more detail, and it teases me to want to know a bit more about you. Yeah, it teases me to pick up the phone and want to give you a call and understand all the experiences that you've put in there. It's not only about the passion that you have for the brand. It's like what you can bring. As you said, I think a lot of people miss that point. Is people try to sell too much into, I want to work for this brand because it's the best brand ever. And I dream about working for this brand, but again, I need to know what's in it for the brand before I pick up my phone and spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes of my time speaking to you, right? So that's definitely it is challenging to come and bring into 2 paragraphs the motivation that you want to bring across the role. But again, it's very specific, and it will be very hard for me to give you very specific hint around that because it's very specific around the job, right? And I think one thing that you can always do is understand or try to understand the problems that that position is going to try to solve. And in your cover letter, already talk about some of the solutions that you bring across. So that would be stories that you could already show in providing a solution-based orientation to the recruiter who's reading, which can help us to understand that you are a more solution-driven person and you understand that business, right? So the cover letter provides more than the CV, that's for sure, and definitely necessary. How you present the cover letter could also be different, right? It could be a QR code that leads me to a video. It could be a QR code that leads me to your whole digital platform and tells me a story about you. It doesn't necessarily need to be 2 paragraphs, right? It could be something else.
Oh, that's I haven't thought of that. I think still,
yeah.
Although I'm working more and more with digital, the gray hair still, keep some old habits. That's great advice. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
and actually, we answered as well the question by Yuri Dominguez as well. So,
yeah.
Let me ask you. We've been talking about the application process, how to get your attention or the recruiter's attention. But then once you get that, you're invited for the interview. Well, what advice would you give to anyone that is invited for an interview with you or with Adidas or anyone in general?
I might sound like a broken record because I've spoken a bit around this already, but I think studying the job and understanding the problems that this job will solve and the problems that they might be going through or the problems that they will be going through. That's definitely number 1. And then number 2 would be, how do you come to an interview already providing solutions to these problems? And show them that you proactively already know about these problems and you already have solutions to these problems. And it's okay if you don't have solutions for the problems, but how do you show that you have a research-oriented mindset and a solution-based mindset that helps you to understand these problems and understand the steps that you need to take to solve these problems? So that would be my advice, number 2. And then number 3, which I mentioned already, I think it's very important that the candidate matches with the company, right? So that leadership framework, because if you are successful in a big company somewhere else, doesn't mean that you're going to be successful at Adidas, doesn't mean that you're going to be successful at Red Bull, doesn't mean that you're going to be successful wherever, working for FIFA. It's different. I don't necessarily only hire people from competition. I sometimes hire people that come from pickup industry or from fast consumer goods. They don't necessarily need to come from sport, but what I really want is that a leadership framework matches with us, so that candidate, there is that marriage, and this person is going to provide solutions to problems that we might face or provides ideas to bring us to the next level. So that would be my hints for an interview.
No, that's great advice. We'll have to cut this interview in a few blocks, and because there's very good snippets there that will be of interest for people that might not have the time to watch the whole thing, but get those nuggets. We're actually approaching the 1 hour mark, so I'll try to move a little faster. If you can stay a few minutes longer with us, there is a few more questions that arrived from our audience. I wanted to actually ask you, and this is a bit of a personal sort of a question in a way, because I wanted to know what you thought of. You participated in the iWorkinSport virtual job fair in May. And Ipek, I don't know if she's still here with us, but she said hi in the beginning of the stream. She did a wonderful job there for Adidas as well. What was your experience like? So what can you tell? There's a lot of people here that probably hear about the job fair, but haven't been there, whether they're recruiters or people attending. Maybe you could share very quickly the experience of the Adidas team there.
Of course. I mean, first of all credits to Ipek and Mariana, who, basically were working with you on that project. And so all credits to them. But yeah, I participated as well. I think it was an amazing experience. We were able to really create talent pools, which was our goal for that moment, was to participate, talk to candidates, bring them to talent pools, and be able to connect with candidates with very diverse background. I think the setting of it being virtual and digital allowed us to bring recruiters from different locations, which also allowed you to have candidates from different locations as well. So I think in general, the event was super well organized, and I think we took that chance of being digital, and we joined with recruiters from all over the globe, and we networked, and we benefited from those networks. And I think we also left mark in some candidates who thought of us as a future company to work for, probably motivated them a little bit more. And I think we found a lot of individuals who truly share that belief that of our company, that through sport we have the power to change lives. And yeah, I mean, I think I'm still in touch with a few of the candidates that I've met there. I think there are a few that are even here, if I'm not mistaken, that I've met there as well. And I'm pretty sure other recruiters are as well. And hopefully that has ended up in hirings already. I'm not sure, or will end up in hirings as well. So, but definitely we created quite some talent pools out of it. So it was a really fruitful experience, to be honest.
Yeah, it was great. I can tell you that from the feedback from the audience, the candidates there, Adidas was by far one of the top for them. And I think that because you understood really well the advantages of doing the digital version of the fair, right? So I think it's always great to be face-to-face. There's some advantages to do that. But when you're digital, one thing that Adidas did very well, you had recruiters from many parts of the world. And because there was a global audience, I think that was great. So yeah, hoping to continue and maybe hopefully having Adidas in the next one as well.
Yeah.
Rapha, the pandemic, what in general for you recruiting for Adidas, what was the biggest challenge for the recruitment team? That's a question from Ignatius Alev Hamilton.
I think it was new, right? That we needed to do everything digitally. So I think from a recruitment perspective, it gets hard to not see the people on a face-to-face. Like we always like to see our final candidates face-to-face before making a final decision, and we had to make quite some decisions, and we still are making quite some decisions all digitally. So that's definitely, it's a tough key. It's hard not to have that candidate on a face-to-face. Also for the candidate, it's not only for us. It's for us, it's important to show the campus, for the people to see where they're going to be working, for the people to also meet the hiring team on a face-to-face. So I think that has been a difficult journey in general, like transitioning completely into the digital world, and of course working from home, and doing interviews when connections drop and connections don't work, or router doesn't work anymore. And so that whole transition has probably been very tough. And then I would say, the acceleration of digital, of course, made us be more savvy in that area, but also recruit more savvy in that area as well. So understanding a bit more what digital entails.
That's great. Rapha, we're about to end, so I'm going to try to do a few more very quickly. I'm sorry, I don't think I'll be able to get all the questions there, but there's a couple that arrived that I want to address. I want to give a shout out to Alexandre, who's at an Adidas store in São Paulo, watching us. So hello, Ale. Actually, again, remind me if I forget to ask you this, but this one I might give you some time to think about because I thought it was quite clever. Hi, Rapha, thank you for the wonderful insights. Yeah, I thank you too. I agree with Bikar. If you could describe your journey in sports in one word, what would that be? Do you need time to think about it? And I ask another one, or you already know?
No, I have it in the tip of my tongue. Challenging.
What is it?
Challenging.
Challenging.
Yeah,
Good.
and
Good one.
the reason I say that is it's a constant change. Sport is always changing. It's always evolving. It's always new. Change is a constant. So, that makes things a bit challenging, which also makes things interesting, in my opinion, of course. But yeah, that would be the word that I would describe.
Right. Tilo Zingler, watching on he's in the US in YouTube, says that the chief HR officer for Fenway Sports Management said that she looks at a CV for 15 seconds. And well, that's a lot, actually. I heard many people saying that they look at it for 6 seconds or so. So how is that actually works? And is it like this for Adidas as well? What's the ratio of CV open and actually CV read?
I mean, it's very hard to say, but it's quick. It's definitely quick. You have to think that a recruiter has sometimes 30 positions at one time, right? 20 to 30 positions at one time, and then out of these 20 to 30 positions, sometimes you have 100 applications for each of these positions. So if you do the math there, you have quite some applications that the recruiters need to go through, and there's just no time. I still have the same amount of hours in a day that everyone else does, right? So I need to do that as efficient as possible. So for me, it's very important when I'm looking at the CVs is I open the requirements that the team has given me, and I try to match these requirements with the CV. So I usually have the requirements open on one window, the CVs open on another window. Does it meet the requirements? No, then I cannot speak to this person now. Does it meet the requirements? Yes, then let's speak to this person. Does it meet the requirements? Maybe. Could be interesting to speak to.
Right.
So that kind of gives you a little bit of the ratio, but I couldn't tell you exactly the ratio, to be honest. Sorry.
Right, Rafa. So the very last couple quick ones before I do that, I'm going to ask people that are still here watching, if you're enjoying that, let's show Raphael Fiche our love. Hit the like button there. And if actually this is the last episode of the year, but if you want to be notified for the ones that will come up into 2021, also hit that bell icon there to get the notifications. Best memory in sport. What is so you've been working for Adidas? You must probably have many very cool memories working in sport. What
I want to answer, but very clear in my head. Even though Brazil lost 7-1 in this tournament, World Cup 2014 will always remain one of the biggest highlights of my career and one of the biggest moments of my learnings and my opportunities. Working endless hours and not sleeping many days to see such a tournament back home in my country.
Funny that you say that, because I didn't remember that result.
I don't want to ask what happened with you.
Whatever I can, I ask, do you have a book to recommend to anyone that is now looking to progress in their career, in saying sport specifically, but a career in general?
Yeah, I mean, Korea in general, I think I talked about personal branding a lot, so I would recommend a book called The Brand You.
The brand?
The Brand You.
Okay, brand you.
Brand You, where basically the CEO, he talks about you being the CEO of your own company, right? So kind of going into that whole part where regardless of age, position, and the business we happen to be in, all of us need to understand that importance of branding and that we are in charge of our brand. And to be in the business today, you need to be the chief of your own brand, the chief marketing of your own brand, right? So I think it's a very interesting read. And then I actually have one here which I love, and it's Tim Ferriss, Tools of the Titans. It's a thick one, but you can break it down in a lot of small stories because it's a lot of different stories that he breaks down and talks about tips and tricks of the one of the most successful people in the world. So a lot of tactics, a lot of interesting points to take out of that. That would be
Great,
the book.
great stuff. We're gonna write down in the description of the video both names, and we'll give links to both of the books for anyone that is watching delayed or the replay. And finally, any podcast or YouTube channel that you would like to recommend?
The one that I've been listening to recently is the Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. So he's the owner of Social Chain, very young CEO, and he basically he basically goes unrated through his diary, everything that happens through his life, and how he became to be a CEO, how his mind changed from an 18-year-old to a 25-year-old CEO. So it's pretty interesting, and how important it is for him to that he has people's lives in his hands now, right? And then how important it is for you to keep that in mind if you want to be an entrepreneur. That means dealing with people's lives. So I think it's a very cool one. And then linking again to personal branding, I would say Game Changers. It's an interesting one as well. It analyzes basically brandings of creatives and leaders and entrepreneurs as well. So a lot of episodes around different kinds of people, which is a cool listen as well. Especially when I drive to work, that's when I listen to.
Great. I'm gonna check them out. Listen, Rafa, I think that we couldn't have ended this difficult year, but the series, our second season, in a better note, was wonderful. Tilo says, thank you, Rafa and João. I think it was Max also saying that he would gladly welcome you to his table and share his personal story with you. And there's Bikar and Siddhant and Tilo. They all sort of enjoyed the talk. I did that very much as well. So, yeah, any final word that you would like to give before we go?
No, I think it was super interesting as well for me. Always happy to first of all contribute to your work, and also contribute to helping people in a way. So hopefully some of my hints have helped some of the people, and let me know once you progress, and let me know what happens to you. So we'd love to understand.
It's been great. And for everybody, watching there, if you're celebrating holidays in the end of the year, happy holidays to you. Than 2020. And as I said, if you enjoyed this, want to show your appreciation to Rafa mostly, but I would like that as well. If you can hit that like button, but especially subscribe to the channel if you're interested in this kind of content. And I guess that if you're here until now, you must be. So that would be super cool. And I really look forward to seeing you all in the next year. Oh, I almost forgot something very important. Well, I should have said that in the beginning. remember that I told you before we started that I always forget something. People don't go there anywhere. I'm going to invite you to participate in a very cool thing, which is we're giving away a PlayStation 5. So all you have to do, and if you're still here, this is your chance. Many people already passed and left. So go down to the description of the video, and there's a link. Oops, there's a link there, and all you have to do is to complete a survey. We're doing a survey of the market. We're trying to find, who are the most attractive employers in sport. I can tell you that we had already over 500 responses, and Adidas is ranking well, Rapha. But this is a global survey. So please go there, click on the link, fill in the survey, and if you do that, you will enter a draw to win a PlayStation 5, this digital edition one. All right, you can participate too, Rapha.
Oh, I've done it already. I want that PlayStation. So
that's great. That's great. All right, everybody. See you in the new year. It was brilliant having you all here. And Rapha, we'll be in touch. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Happy holidays, João.